Harish. Harish. Lalesh. Harish. Lalesh. Lalesh. Ready na? Harish. Lalesh. Lalesh. Ready na? Harish. Lalesh. Lalesh. Ready na? Sanvi. Hello.
Oh, hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. All set, Sanvi?
Yes.
Good, good. Good to see. I saw a lot of videos, a lot of things about you today.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Praveen. Is the lighting okay?
Yeah, I think she's good.
Okay.
Good.
Excellent.
నవీన్ గారు ఎలా ఉన్నారు మీరు ఒకసారి ముఖం చూపియండి.
Hello, sir. Namaskaram.
Nice to talk to you and see you.
Surely. Likewise.
Okay. I think only 2 minutes. So I think, Sanvi, what I'll do is I'll just start with your introduction, and then I will ask you to give any more updates. Then we'll start about the journey, what you have started and how this mainly we'll talk about your parents too a little bit, because their support is very, very needed. And I want everyone to understand how important it is for the child to motivate.
Yeah.
Then we will talk. Yeah, then we will talk about more I'll ask these questions on some of the questions already I've given. What inspires you, and how do you spend your time? And then
Okay.
what all the national park you have visited? What are the challenges, right? And what are the equipment required for anyone to be part of the trekking or backpacking, and how do you do? So these kind of things we will start, and then probably I think half an hour should go like this, and then we'll
Okay.
talk about some of your achievements. You can talk maybe every question. I think 5 to 6 minutes should be fine, or 3 minutes of about that, and then we will see how we can play the video if possible in the introduction itself. I'll see if it is possible. Otherwise, we will continue with the flow.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Anything you want me to ask specific apart from the ones which I have given?
I don't think so. I
I
think
think
we
this
covered
we
everything.
covered. And in these, if you want, you can add from your thing. But definitely we will cover more little bit on Everest, right? How was your
Yeah.
experience? What are the challenges? What made you to go there? And how long the preparation was? What kind of things you have taken? Then what is your next vision? Right? What is asked will conclude with a message, right? What message you want to give. And one thing in between, I will definitely ask, what do you think we need to change the world, right? What are the challenges you find in your journey where the government or the citizens should change their lifestyle, or some things which can enhance the nature, or clean the nature? What kind of measures you took, or you want everyone to do? That would be one thing. You think about it, what will be appropriate to tell. I think
Okay.
that, yeah, I'll just call them, and we'll start. Yeah, ready now?
ఒక 30 seconds నేను కాల్ చేస్తున్నాను.
Yeah, okay. So you do every Saturday and Sunday, Sanvi?
Yes.
Go out. So today you didn't go because of this event, or you have to go after this?
No, I'll probably go on like a short walk or something later today.
Excellent. So you take all the entire family and go, your dad, mom, and
Yeah, we go with my entire family and my dog. Yeah.
oh, you have a dog? What
Yeah.
dog you have?
I have an Australian Labradoodle.
Australian Lab. We took a Shih Tzu.
Oh, I love Shih Tzus. They're so tiny and like fluffy. Yeah.
I promised my daughter that 10th year will get you a Shih Tzu. By the time I look at, she already crossed 9, so that we bought 3 months ago a puppy.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we got mine 2 years ago. So
Okay,
also small too. Yeah.
so we are just getting used to the dog.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun, especially puppies.
Yeah, now we all like him, and then we are continuously habituating.
Yeah, that's probably like in my family, we like to say the one thing we can all agree on is Lola, which is like my dog. One thing, yeah.
Yeah, Lalesh, is that okay?
రెడీయా? ఒక్కొక్కసారి తమ్ చూపించి స్టార్ట్ చేయండి అండి. నాకు ఫోన్ లో ఉంది, అది రీసౌండ్ వస్తుంది సార్.
ఓకే స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం.
తమ్ చూసేసి చూపించి నాకు ఒక్క 2 seconds గ్యాప్ ఇచ్చేసి స్టార్ట్ చేయండి.
Okay.
నేను కౌంట్ అని చెప్తే నాకు రీసౌండ్ వస్తుంది.
Yeah. I think we should be starting in. So did you send this to all your friends?
Sir.
Ready?
Yes.
Ready.
Okay. Shall I start?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to Mana TV and TV5. You are watching Insight with Praveen Puram, straight from Atlanta. Today, our esteemed guest is Sanvi Sita Mailavarapu. Hi, Sanvi, how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And let's get started, Sanvi. Let me introduce you. So Sanvi is a 15-year sophomore from Frisco, Texas. She has started hiking when she was 6-year-old, from moderate to very strenuous hikes, backpack for several days in the different terrains, mountains, valleys, canyons, cliffs, rainforests, glaciers, etc. With over 25 plus national park in the USA, and she recently hiked in Everest Base Camp and Kalapathar and a few mountains in Kumbu region. She is a US National Park Ambassador for 2022 and 23. She's on a mission spreading awareness and advantage of being close to nature, encouraging millennials by sharing her stories, creating videos on nature, conversation, etc. Her effort caught attention from several media outlets such as NBC, CBS, WGN, and was on the front page of newspapers and magazines. Wow, wonderful, Sanvi. What a effort you have made on this. So today, let's get started about your journey, Sanvi. Before we get into your journey, I would love to, you to say about yourself if I have missed anything.
Yes, so my name is Sanvi Sita Mailavarapu. I am currently a sophomore at Independence High School. I recently moved to Dallas, Texas, after being born and brought up in Chicago, Illinois.
Excellent, excellent. So, Sanvi, I think I see that you started your journey 6 years, when you were 6 years. Typically, when you are in 6 years, it's very tough to do this job. So how did you develop this interest? What is your journey towards this? Can you please explain about this to our viewers?
So when I was 6 years old, I remember my dad went on a hiking trip with his friends to Grand Canyon National Park. And when he got back, I remember him telling my family about the amazing experience he had and how, being in nature and hiking was just a completely different experience. And it was something that only you could experience if you were, a certain level of fitness, and only he could do it. And then after that, I remember we were on a road trip and Mammoth Caves National Park was actually on our way. So my mom decided to reroute our trip to Mammoth Caves National Park. And after we went to Mammoth Caves National Park, it completely changed the experience of what vacations mean to us as a family. I think as a family, we fell in love with nature, but more importantly, my mom really, really loved that experience. And the next trip, my mom planned for us to go to Arches National Park, Canyonlands National Park, and Bryce National Park, which is all in Utah. And ever since then, we've been visiting more and more national parks. And while visiting these national parks, I realized that there's so much more that we can do to nature, and nature is helping us in all kinds of ways. And the more national parks I visited, the more my love for nature organically grew. And since my love for nature grew, so did my love for the planet. And that's how I started to become more aware about how my actions are directly impacting the planet.
Wow, absolutely. I think there is a huge need to save the planet, Sanvi. I think your effort will definitely do that. So typically, I feel that the inspiration and the journey started through your father, right? So what do they do, your father and mother?
So my father works in a bank and my mom works for a healthcare firm.
Excellent, excellent. Hats off to them for encouraging you and inspiring you to get close to the nature. So, Sanvi, how do you plan your trips now? Because I know that now you might be like 15 years plus, right? So it's already you have started your journey 9 years back. And how do you feel now? What is your confidence level? What kind of planning you do to go to the hiking, or what kind of places you choose?
So I have a list of places that I want to go. I want to explore as much of the earth as I possibly can. So first, what I do is I research the different types of terrain that I'm going to be encountering on the hike. In case I want to know if it's going to be mountains, I need to know if it's going to be canyons, if there's going to be lakes, if if it's going to be uphill, if it's going to be downhill, how long I'm going to be camping there. And I need to know the different kinds of weather conditions. I need to know if it's going to be snowy. I need to know if it's going to rain. I need to know if it's going to be extremely sunny in order for me to plan what type of gear I need. Once I figure out the different types of terrain that I'm going to encounter and the weather that I'm going to encounter, I can decide what type of gear to bring. And then I have to research the many different types of gears that are available in order for me to choose the correct gear for my trip. Gear is probably one of the most important things that shapes your trip, because if you don't choose the right gear, it could greatly impact the quality of the trip and how much you enjoy it. I think one other really big part of preparation is making sure you're mentally and physically able to do the hike. For being physically fit, I think the greatest preparation for any hike you can do is to go on more hikes to prepare for the hike. Going on hikes in nature is a completely different experience than going on a treadmill or walking. So I think that's the biggest type of preparation you can do. And you also have to be mentally fit, because there are many parts on a hike when you feel like to give up, when it starts to get really, really tough, and you have to remember the end goal, what you are striving for. For example, on my Everest Base Camp hike, when I was climbing up Kalapatar, the night before, I slept pretty late because we had hiked all the way to Everest Base Camp. And in the morning, we woke up at 4:30 a.m. and it was pitch black dark outside. And it was so cold. And as we started hiking, it was a complete uphill. And I did not pack the correct shoes, which I should have packed insulated shoes, but I was wearing my normal hiking boots, which made my feet get really cold and also made my hands get really cold. So while I was hiking, it wasn't that much of a good experience and I felt like to give up a lot. But the moment when I first saw the sunrise hit Everest, the top of Mount Everest, it made everything worth it. And when I saw the amazing panoramic views of some of the biggest mountains in the Himalayan regions, such as Lobuche, Amadablam, Everest, Lhotse, Nuptse, it just makes everything worth it. And one thing is that you don't remember the pain and the discomfort of the hike, but you'll always remember the amazing views. So now looking back on it, I don't really remember the amount of pain and discomfort I was in during the Kalapatar hike. But that image of the first sunrise on the top of Mount Everest will forever be in my head. And the panoramic views that I experienced on my day will forever stay with me.
Absolutely, Sanvi. I think I have been following you on the Instagram and I've been watching the different views. They are really, really amazing. So before we go more on to the Everest, I also wanted to ask you, how do you manage your time, Sanvi? Because now the interest is more on your hikes, mountains, and all those kinds of stuff. So how do you manage if it is more beyond 2 days in your week? So how do you manage your school and this passion?
Well, life is all about balancing. So I had to learn to balance everything. I have my school. I also am a classically trained Western violinist. I'm also training in Kuchipudi right now, and I also sing Carnatic music. And along with that, I also have my passion for hiking and nature. So life is all about balancing. You just have to balance it correctly, and you can do anything you want then.
Amazing, Sanvi. I think it looks like you are multi-talented, right? I think you're a gifted child, obviously. And how do you have any of your classmates also inspired by you with this hiking?
Yeah, my classmates definitely support me a lot, and they follow me on my Instagram, and they are definitely inspired. After coming back from any of my hiking trips, I always tell all my friends and my classmates about them. And they've definitely started to go more outdoors and start doing more outdoor activities now.
So typically you plan how many hikes in a month? So do you plan well in advance by your experience?
Yeah, I definitely had to plan well in advance, especially since I need to make sure I get the correct gear, and I want to make sure I'm going at the appropriate weather time for each hike, because for certain hikes you can't go for certain months of the year because it can be too dangerous because of the weather. So for bigger hikes, I'll definitely plan a couple of months in advance. But for smaller, more local hikes, I'm constantly going whenever I have free time. I'm constantly going to my local nature preserve, and I'm constantly just looking for new trails to go and hike out near my house.
Wow. So Sanvi, I was also looking at some of your videos, like when you were on the heights, walking on a narrow wall kind of a mountain. It was very scary when I look at them. Definitely, I will show some of the clippings to all the audience. But I think you were probably 7 or 8 years, right? At the time, if I see you look at your videos, didn't you get scared on the height mountains?
I wasn't scared, just because when you're out in nature and when you're hiking so much from a young age, it teaches you a lot of survival skills, and it also helps you get past a lot of your fears, such as fear of heights, fear of spiders, fear of, just anything that you're scared of. It helps you get over it. And I think that really helps me build my character as I'm growing. And the experiences that I went through when I was younger hiking definitely reflect on the type of person I am today. And as you said, like walking on the side of cliffs and stuff, that's normal for me now. But definitely when I was younger, I did have a little bit of trouble with it. But you quickly get past it as you do it more and more. And you realize, I'm not just going on a cliff to going on a cliff. I'm going on a cliff to, see these views, and I'm going on this cliff to experience nature.
Amazing, amazing, Sanvi. So let's talk about a little bit on the fitness. How do you ensure that you are fit for your, when you are going for the heights, trekking, and all those kinds of stuff? Definitely, as you go and gain some experience, you definitely think about, how should I be fit? So how much time you spend on fitness, and what kind of fitness activities do you do?
Yeah, fitness, I would say, is one of the most important things when it comes to hiking, mental and physical fitness. Just because if you're not physically fit, then the hike won't be enjoyable. And if the hike's not enjoyable, then it's not a good experience for you, and you won't reap the same types of benefits than you normally would if the hike is enjoyable. So I do different types of hikes around me, and I'm on my cross country team at school, so I do a lot of running. I also go to my rock climbing gym 2 to 3 times a week to train for outdoor rock climbing, which helps me with my arm strength and my stamina. But I think the best preparation you can do for hikes is hiking itself, for bigger hikes. And so for the Everest Base Camp hike, one way to prepare for that was going on more hikes. So I planned longer backpacking trips. I planned longer day hikes to see how far I could hike until, I got tired, and what I needed to work on in order to enjoy the Everest Base Camp hike. Because hiking is tough, and strenuous hikes definitely take a toll on your body. And it's important to especially be mentally tough in the times that you feel like to give up and you don't know if you can keep going. You have to remind yourself the real reason why you're hiking.
Wow, great. Sanvi, then how about food diet? Do you maintain some diet, or, you're very specific about diet. What do you think a hiker should maintain the diet?
So I have been raised a strict vegetarian since I was younger. So I've always been eating vegetarian food. And when I go backpacking, I typically eat dehydrated foods full of protein.
Mhm.
But as I grow up, I hope to one day become vegan because the meat and dairy industry has such a big impact on our climate, which many people aren't aware of. But I really hope to become vegan one day just so I'd be helping our planet even more than I am now.
Amazing. Hope you become vegan soon. And Sanvi, what kind of support you get from your parents and teachers? How do you get the support? And every week you plan, so your parents will be joining with you, or how is that?
Yeah, my parents and my family, I get my friends to join me. We definitely go on hikes together a lot. I would say one of the most important thing when you're going hiking is to have good company. And for me, that's my family. My brother, he's in college now. And especially when my brother was in high school and I was in middle school, we wouldn't talk as much and we wouldn't bond as much. But when you're out for weeks and weeks backpacking, you're forced to talk to each other and you're forced to bond with each other. So it would make us bond with each other. It would make us talk to each other. And as a family, we would bond over the hard experiences. We would bond over the beautiful scenery. And it was just such a bonding moment for my family and I.
Absolutely. I agree with you, because when you go for a week, the bonding raises automatically. And how do you plan your food, especially when you are going into the forests, mountains, and all those kinds of stuff? So food planning will be definitely in water, everything. So how do you plan? You ensure that you take for each day and come back again, or how is that?
So we take enough food for every single day. Typically for breakfast, we would probably just have a protein bar. And
Okay.
for lunch, we would also have a protein bar. And then dinner would be our first regular meal of the day, where we would have dehydrated packaged food, where we would have to pour warm water in, which would heat it up, and we would eat that for dinner. And typically those meals are full of protein, and we take one for each day. And we have to carry it in and we have to carry it out, because everything we carry in, we have to pack it out again. And I would say for just planning the meals ahead and stuff, we always choose foods that are extremely high in protein, just so we'll be sustained for the duration of our journey.
Absolutely. Sarvi, coming to this school, so definitely this hiking, you might have put some leaves as well, right? For your 1 week hikings and all. How do your teachers or your friends support during this? Did you hear all positive comments or sometimes negative? What's the feelings about your school?
I definitely hear more positive comments, especially when I went to Everest Base Camp. I remember my physics teacher, after I came back, he wanted me to tell the entire class about my experience and my journey. And then he wanted me to share photos. And then he shared my photos with the class as well. And that just so motivating when I see that. And it's so inspiring for me to see that my teachers are also supporting what I'm doing. And although it is hard to catch up because I am in high school, my teachers are so supportive and they help me catch up. And it just makes everything so much easier when your teachers and your friends and your peers and everyone around you is also supporting what you're doing.
No doubt about it, Sanvi. Great. Thanks to all your teachers, for encouraging you. And tell us more about this US National Park Ambassador. What is it all about, and how did you get into this? What ignited this?
So I'm a National Park Trust Ambassador this year,
Mhm.
and I'm taking this opportunity very seriously to spread my vision. I have several duties to perform. My main goal is to encourage kids to create clubs, conserve nature, preserve the national parks, and teach them about the benefits of visiting national parks and spending time with nature. I believe in not preaching, but by leading by example, which is why every time I go on an adventure, I make sure to share my story on my Instagram and my blog to hopefully inspire and motivate more kids and more teens to get away from technology and to spend more time with nature.
Wow, great, Sanvi. We didn't even know that this role exists, National Park Ambassador. We wish you good luck in this role, and I'm sure that you will inspire the kids. And the main reason for this also to inspire all the NRIs. They will be watching this show or they will be seeing later, and seeing your flyer, they understand that, wow, being close to nature is also one of the accomplishments which we can do. And I'm sure that everyone will follow you and visit more national parks and learn about nature. Absolutely. And let's come back to the Everest, right? Which caught my attention as well when you really accomplished this Mount Everest. What made you think to go there? And tell us more about your journey. How did you accomplish that? What was your planning? How many days you were there? And what are the challenges you faced?
So I've always wanted to climb the 7 summits. So Everest Base Camp was definitely one of the first starting steps to getting there. And I've also been seeing a lot of stories and reading a lot of news about what's going on in Nepal right now with Everest Base Camp. And right now, I think they're planning to move Everest Base Camp. And I've been hearing a lot about, the way Everest Base Camp is structured and how they're finding microplastics now near Everest. So I really wanted to go there and see for myself what was going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so first I planned the actual trip about 3 years in advance, because we were actually supposed to go before COVID happened. But because of COVID, our trip got delayed 2 years and we ended up going after COVID. And for planning and preparation of the trip, it was definitely a lot more preparation than any of my other hikes that I've ever done before, because first thing, we were going to another country and we needed many, many more supplies to deal with the altitude and to deal with the cold over there. And one thing that was different from the Everest Base Camp than any of the other hikes I've ever done was the level of uncertainty that we experienced. Because of the high altitude, you never knew if you were going to wake up the next morning and if you were going to be sick. You never knew if you were going to have a headache. You never knew if you were going to wake up throwing up. You never knew if you were going to wake up having diarrhea. You never knew what kind of symptoms you would have that would make you need to turn back. I remember in the mornings we would wake up in our lodges and there'd be people who were getting airlifted out who were perfectly fine the night before. So that was very scary to have to deal with, but it was part of the experience. But definitely Everest Base Camp, it was something that I had always wanted to do. And it took us a total of 12 days to do. And we went up in elevation about 12,000 feet. And we started first we had to helicopter actually into a small town named Lukla. And from there, we had to hike all the way up to Everest Base Camp, which took us about 8 days. And then we took 3 days to hike back. We went much faster on the hike back because as you're going downhill, you're going down in elevation. So it's easier to hike back. However, when we were going higher, it became a lot harder for us to hike because the higher you go in elevation, the harder it is to breathe also. And the harder it is to breathe, the harder it makes it to hike. And the harder it makes us to hike, the more tired you are. And the more effort and energy you have to put into hiking.
Wow. I was just scared to hear. I know that what kind of adventure you have done. So how you went alone or your father assisted or who all went along with you?
So I went along with my family and I went with my brother, my mom, and my dad. And the journey was going quite good until the 2 days before we went to Everest Base Camp, my brother got altitude sickness. So he was unfortunately unable to complete the journey with us. So it ended up just being my mom and my dad and me going to Everest Base Camp.
So they are also all trained and fit. They increase their fitness for this journey. Your mom and dad?
definitely you have to do a lot more increase in fitness and training just because you need to have a lot more stamina than you would normally have, because the higher you go in altitude, the much harder it is to breathe normally.
God, hats off to your parents and the entire family, Sanvi.
Thank you.
Because it is not only you hiking, right? They are all coming along with you, and in their busy schedule, they found like at least a month, I believe, right? At least 15, 20 days they would have spent with you. Is that
Yes,
true?
it was about 3 weeks, I think, we spent in Nepal.
It's amazing. I think everyone would have enjoyed. And a basic question is, what do you mean by base camp? Base camp in the sense you have in certain level of Everest, you have a base camp, or what? Why do they call base camp?
So I believe Everest Base Camp is located at 5,364 meters.
Mhm.
And Everest Base Camp, it's not at the base of Everest. It's the starting point of the hike to go up and climb Mount Everest. And it's right in middle of the Khumbu Glacier, which is why I think they're planning to move it now, because I think it's kind of dangerous to have it in middle of that glacier in case anything melts or anything moves or anything happens. But that's basically the starting point of where the Everest hikers start climbing. So once you start climbing Mount Everest, there's different camps. There's Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, and Camp 4. And Everest Base Camp is right before Camp 1. And that's where you start your trek to Mount Everest.
What is facilities throughout the journey of the Mount Everest? So how was the facilities? If something happens, was there everything handy from the government?
So we would stay at tea houses. There were very basic, simple tea houses. They would have a common lodge where everyone would sit and eat together. And then your rooms would have 2 beds in them. And you would either have a bathroom in your room, or you would have a common bathroom that you would share with everyone on the floor. And in the beginning, the bathrooms did have flushes in them, but as we got higher and higher, we would have common bathrooms and the bathrooms wouldn't have flushes. So you would have to flush everything down yourself. And so it was very, very basic needs. There wasn't anything fancy for sure. For safety, I don't think the government really provided anything. If anything ever happened to you, you would want to make sure you had insurance so you can charter yourself a helicopter to get out of the place that you were in danger. So we had insurance, luckily. So in case anything ever happened, we could call up a helicopter company and they could come and they could take us out and fly us back to Kathmandu.
That's a great risk you have taken. So how about this? Do we need to inform or register yourself to inform the government that you are doing a hike to Mount Everest?
Yeah, so you have to get permits. You have to buy permits before it. And there are multiple checkpoints throughout the entire trek where you have to show your permit and you have to get it approved.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, how the government keeps track of who's coming in and who's coming out.
So while you were doing this, did you find the other trekkers as well coming along with you?
Yeah, there were many other trekkers that were also hiking Everest Base Camp. And it's really fascinating to hear where they're coming from and why they're doing Everest Base Camp, because there's people from all over the world. I met people from India. I met people from Europe. I also met this man from Switzerland who was just backpacking in the Himalayas for months. And it was just really fascinating to hear all of their stories and why they choose to do Everest Base Camp.
So what did you hear from that, Sanvi? Because many people come from the different parts of the world. And do you think everyone are like you, doing nature, trekking and loving nature? Those kind of people only come, or do anyone come just for fun and see we have to go to the Everest and we have to achieve that? What kind of people you found?
Yeah, I think everyone comes for their own reasons. I think everyone has a reason for being there. The people who I talked to, they loved exploring and being in nature as well. This one person who I talked to from Switzerland, he actually was there the entire month. He didn't have any guide or anything. He was just out there backpacking, trying to explore as much as he can. And he was definitely a huge inspiration for me, because that's what hopefully I want to do when I'm older. I want to go and just backpack and explore nature and just be me and nature. So I met all different sorts of people, and hearing all their stories is definitely a big inspiration for me, because when I grow up, I aim to be a lot like those people and have that kind of connection with nature that they are having.
Excellent. You talked about 7 summits, right? So still you have more to go again nearby the Everest and again go all these summits, or you have accomplished everything?
Yeah, so I still have to start the 7 summits. The 7 summits is the tallest mountain in each continent. So in
Okay.
Asia, that would be Mount Everest. In US, that would be Denali. In Africa, that'd be Kilimanjaro. So I am planning to climb Mount Kilimanjaro next year. So my goal is to climb all 7 summits and also just explore as many mountains and as many national parks as I can.
Amazing, amazing, Sanvi. So tell us the viewers, like, if you want to plan any of the summit, right? What will be the expense? Roughly, I don't want you to account for, but I just wanted the audience to know what kind of effort, what kind of cost, what kind of risk you are taking.
So it's, first of all, it's definitely a very physically enduring activity. You have to make sure you're very, very physically fit. Otherwise, it is life threatening if you're not physically fit, if you're going to do any of these hikes. And for the cost, it does cost a lot of money, which is why you have to plan years and years and years before you attempt any of these hikes, because the number one thing is your safety, and you want to make sure you're safe, which means you have to be physically fit, you have to be mentally fit, and you want to make sure you have the correct guides and the correct resources to help you along the way.
Absolutely, Sanvi. Anyway, hats off to you for these thoughts. It is very scary for me to hear, but I wish you have to go to all the summits, and then, you have to write all the blogs, and also your Instagram should be floated with everything. And then we all will enjoy seeing you going to the heights. And also it's all for us to look at what kind of mountains you are seeing. So tell us about the education part. Are you planning to, continue your studies in any of the nature related studies? Have you figured it out, or you are going to generally go to any of the engineers or doctors? What is your plan there?
So as far as my career, like when I was younger, when I was in 4th grade, I wanted to become a dolphin trainer. Later, when I was in middle school, I wanted to become a doctor. And now I want to become a wildlife biologist. But one thing I've noticed that is always constant is my need to explore and enjoy, and my curiosity is always growing. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I think wherever I go, I want to continue to explore as much as I can.
Absolutely, Sanvi. We wish you in that route as well. So tell us, what is your goal, ultimate goal after, see, when you started at 6 and you are now after 15, you have accomplished a lot being into this trekking, rock climbing, and also being close to the nature. Now, what is your dreams or goals or vision in the next 5 years, what you want to do?
So my vision is to definitely climb as many mountains as I can, hike as much as I can, and to also spread the message about how important it is to spend time with nature. What I've noticed is these days, the more in touch we get with technology, the more out of touch we get with nature. And being able to visit so many national parks at a young age, I realized how much more happy I am when I'm spending time out in nature, how much more happy I am when I'm backpacking for days without proper food and tents, when I'm, hiking, and how much less happy I am when I'm, in my air conditioned house. And I wanted to figure, like, why am I so much more happy when I'm surrounded by nature? And these days, we do everything on technology. We communicate on technology. We do our studies, and in school, we learn on technology. We get entertained on technology. So after researching and learning, like, why am I so much happier and why do I feel this way when I'm out in nature? I read a lot that, nature can actually help like improve your attention. It can help lower stress. It can help better your mood. It can actually give you a reduced risk of psychiatric disorders. And also, most importantly, can also raise your dopamine levels, which makes you happier. And there's also many, many other cognitive benefits from spending time with nature. And I believe all of this is so important to society, especially in my generation, where things like anxiety and depression are so prevalent, and everything and everyone is around technology. I think it's so much important to go back to nature, to learn some of those survival and primal skills that, you know, we need to know in order for our physical body and our mental health to be much better. And also, it's actually scientifically proven that the more time you spend in nature, your carbon footprint also decreases. So the more time we spend in nature, the more motivated people are going to be to help the planet. So if we just encourage people to spend more time in nature, then all these things like climate change and, you know, the harming of our earth, I believe, can be organically fixed by just encouraging people to spend more time with nature, which is why I think one of the most important things we can do right now is to encourage our policymakers to start building and creating more green spaces that everyone can go and visit near their houses in order to get more touch with nature. Psychologists say that, you know, just taking a short walk every day, even in an urban environment, can help better your mood throughout the day. And yeah. And as Albert Einstein once said, look deep into nature and you will understand everything better. The earth always has constant natural energy that is always flowing. And when you're outside and you're walking around nature, you're absorbing this energy. So I think the best thing we can just do for the earth, for our bodies, for our mental health, is to just encourage other people to go spend time with nature and to go out and reap the benefits of all the beautiful wonders that we have on our planet.
Wow, Sanvi, it's a great learning, even including me. You are right. As and when the technology is growing, people are only limiting to their house. I agree with you. Everyone should explore the nature and be in touch with the nature. Maybe the policymakers will definitely hear you and make those changes and adjustments where people can go flexible and work there. That also gives an option. And do you do any camps where you throw this awareness to all the kids, or are you planning to take them and, you know, at least tell your experiences and handhold them for all these hikings and being close to the nature? Are you planning for that?
Yes, as a National Park Trust ambassador, that is one of my roles that I have to perform. Is I'm planning to go visit national parks and talk to kids and go to different schools and encourage kids to go and spend time with nature. The experiences that I've had with national parks and the experiences that I've had with nature, I want to make sure that at least as many kids as I can experience that in their lifetime and experience the connection that I felt with nature in their lifetimes.
I think that's great idea, Sanvi. Even if you see in India, there is a new pattern going on. Everyone going and camping outside, and people during this pandemic, they are creating some groups where they wanted to, you know, take you explore places, do a camping, and create some experience. I think that's everything is happening in Instagram and, you know, social media. And I think you also should do those and encourage people. That way you can train some of the volunteers like you and then give some experience to them. So I think that would be great help. And I would definitely encourage you that doing that. And I'm very, very proud to be talking to you. And this gives see, my ultimate goal is to inspire people, right? Like you. So any Americans, NRIs, Indo-American community, I wanted to, you know, bring people like you and inspire others. That's the main goal of this entire show. And hopefully all the viewers have learned a lot from you. And please let them, in the interest of time, I would love to tell a message to the community. What is the message that you wanted to give to the community And also tell about your Instagram ID and how they can read more about you, follow you, and learn from you.
So the earth is billions and billions of years old. Meanwhile, our human lifespan is only 70 to 80 years. So in our lifetime, let's explore, seek, learn, and enjoy and reap the benefits of nature as much as we can. And let's use nature to help better our society and ourselves. And nature has so many different ways of improving not only the planet, but also our lives. So I think that going out and spending time with nature is one of the best things you can do for yourselves and for the planet. And it's important that now we take action and we encourage our policymakers to invest more money and invest more time into creating more green spaces for us to go and spend time in. And also on my Instagram handle, it's at chalkbagsintense. I have a series called Sanvi Speaks, where I talk about different ways that you can help nature, such as composting, such as the effects of wasting food on our planet, such as the effects of water wastage, and also different ways to just get closer to nature and spend time with nature in your daily lives, and the value of spending time with nature in your daily life. I also give updates on my different adventures that I go on, and I share stories of what I'm up to in the different national parks I visit and the different treks and hikes I go on.
Thank you, Sanvi. Thank you so much. And all the viewers, thank you for your time. And please go and visit this particular show. There is a recorded show, and I want everyone to learn from Sanvi what she does, and also be close to the nature and enjoy the nature, and keep introducing me good people like Sanvi, where we can inspire and bring them onto the light and see what they are doing, and at least we can learn something from them. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sanvi. Have a wonderful weekend, and hope you have one more hiking today. Thank you.
Thank you. And one last thing I just want to say quickly is, we don't have to save the planet, but we just have to stop spoiling it. And I think that's a really important message for people to hear.
Definitely, Sanvi. Thank you.
Thank you.